Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, man, we got a pretty hilarious show for you guys. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as you guys know, we normally don't produce shows on Sunday. Those are usually the days where we just kind of take a break, and then Mondays we pick it back up. But yesterday, something interesting happened. We were done working, and I was just going through the internet. I was watching movies, kind of going back and forth, and I started seeing some stuff about Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens, and I was like, "What's going on here?" Because just yesterday we had produced a show that was centered on some comments that Stephen A. Smith made about Max Kellerman on the Joe Rogan podcast. We did a show on this. So I was like, what's the new thing that was happening? But I started seeing different people talking about it. So I'm like, what happened? And then I came across a video somewhere, and it seemed like apparently Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens reunited their beef. And I was like, wait, how did this all come about? Right? How did this all come about? Now, maybe some people who weren't following sports that closely back then, around 2019, there was a big spat that took place on ESPN First Take that was between Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens. Now, how was this all connected to yesterday? As you guys know, Max Kellerman used to be on ESPN First Take. You guys knew this. Then I believe in 2020, he was removed from the show. It was 2020, 2021, something like that. He was removed from ESPN First Take, and it created it was an absolute thunderstorm around that story. We then later found out that it was actually Stephen A. Smith who had been lobbying for years to get Max Kellerman removed from the show, right? That was the report. And then when Stephen A. Smith himself was asked to give his opinion on all of those rumors, he said, yes, I was the one that requested for Max Kellerman and I to part ways and for the show to get rid of him because I didn't want to work with him anymore. Recently, he told the show, it's either you choose him if you love him that much or you choose me. So Stephen A. Smith wanted that partnership to end. Prior to that happening, there were some people out there suggesting that Stephen A. Smith felt a little bit threatened by Max Kellerman because, as you know, Max Kellerman, he did have some pretty wacky takes like around Kobe Bryant, around Tom Brady with his cliff theory and all of that. But he was a very, very sharp guy. And in most arguments or most debates, he was actually the more logical person whenever these two guys were arguing. And some people were suggesting that maybe Stephen A. Smith felt threatened by this. So what happened? Back in 2019, they were doing a show. And this show was centered on Colin Kaepernick. At the time, Colin Kaepernick had already taken a knee and he was trying to find his way back into the NFL. And you had various people out there speaking on his behalf. And in this case, Terrell Owens was one of them. So he came on ESPN First Take to discuss Colin Kaepernick. And then what happened? Stephen A. Smith starts giving his opinions on things that he disagrees in terms of actions that Colin Kaepernick was making. And Terrell Owens just sitting there listening to him. And then at one point he says to Stephen A. Smith on live air, Stephen A. Smith, I don't know what's up with you, man. Why are you so critical on him? It's almost as if Max Kellerman is more blacker than you. And that completely set Stephen A. Smith off. So we just want to quickly play that exchange between Stephen A. Smith and Terrell Owens for you guys, and then we'll continue on with the show.
Everybody speaking up on behalf of Colin Kaepernick, but Colin Kaepernick. You the one person that don't have anything to say. You step aside while brothers and sisters who know that you were right to want to address police brutality, who know that you were right to want to address racial oppression, who know that you were right when you say that you didn't deserve to be blackballed and you didn't deserve to have your cause politicized. All of us are fighting on behalf of you, but you are the one that won't speak up for yourself. Do you have a problem with that?
Well, I think the thing is, in the black community, like I said, I'm in the streets. I hear what's going on.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
The thing is I think, Stephen A., you have a platform. It's okay to disagree, but it was the way you were going about it. It was almost like you were attacking him. And I think the thing with Colin Kaepernick and the way that things shifted right at the doorstep of this workout is just the transparency. You alluded to the document. As that related, I mean, as I was referring to it with the document, the waiver, again, like I said, when you insert language into something that's not standard, then obviously you have to take time to review those documents. And like I said, they weren't given adequate time to do that. And so to now insert that and then think that he was going to sign it right at the door front, then that's not fair. You giving him, if you're going to give him a fair workout, then give him a fair workout. He was allowed no media access. They were trying to dictate who his receivers were.
I have to stop you there. I am on the air right now listening to a Hall of Famer who I believe has had a multitude of opportunities to highlight unfairness that has been exacted from him. Did that stop you from accepting the challenge, knowing that you were walking into situations that were flagrantly unfair, that you were operating behind the 8 ball at a disadvantage, courtesy of a system and an entity that obviously had a lot of power and influence to compromise whatever your aspirations were? You do it, I do it. There are people that sit up there. You ain't the only one that accused me of attacking him. I would ask you to recall what I said. What I said is that I have been supporting this man. What I didn't support was you sending, not you, meaning him, sending the message that everything has to be ideal and everything has to be fair in order for me to embrace the challenge to acquire what I have been behind the scenes through my camp telling everybody I want. If you don't want to work out, that's fine. If you think it's unfair and you want, and I know, Max, you want to get in, I'm going to bring you in.
Yeah.
And you don't think it's fair, that's fine. And you want to get your lawyer, and your lawyer wants to stand up there and say, this waiver is an issue. We're ready to work out, but not until they alter this waiver, etc. That's different. But to not do the workout, to change locations, and then to go and give a speech to the media without taking any questions, any inquiry as to what's really going on, you are leaving others to surmise what the hell happened.
Can I answer that real quick?
Fair.
Tio, do you mind if I jump in, Tio?
Yes, before you do that, but
go ahead.
I wanted is transparency, Stephen A. And that's like I've done it. I've had incidents throughout the course of my career, and then there have been times where I've gone into interviews where I've done an hour and a half, 2 hours of an interview, and then they break down and they edit, and then you guys get on the show, and there's a panel of people, and then they break down whatever clips that they show. They're not showing the entire hour and a half or 2 hours of that interview that I've done. So what he wanted was transparency for people to see the full workout, to see the full Colin Kaepernick. Again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother,
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. Wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Tell me. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line. First of all, like I said, you, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what's best for black people, name the time and place, I'll show up. I don't want to hear, what's the definition of blackness? Is there a definitive definition of blackness? Why are you giving the impression that because I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants? Okay, excuse me. Hold on, wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing. I'm not agreeing with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I'm not saying.
So you heard their exchange there. Now you guys know that Terrell Owens and Stephen A. Smith have a history. So after Stephen A. Smith went on Joe Budden's podcast and was basically flaming Max Kellerman and said some pretty foul stuff about the guy, knowing that the guy is currently unemployed, talking about basically at one point I was just basically carrying the show. I'm like, bro, that's pretty grimy, man. You didn't have to say all of that. You didn't have to. You would have just said, man, things didn't work out, but you didn't have to go. And then the way he said it, he showed absolutely no remorse. It was so cold. And then we're like, bro, why are you being this cold about it? And in his mind, he's like, well, and I'm sure in Stephen A. Smith's mind, he's like, well, it's business. It's business. It's like, bro, no, it's excessive. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. So what happened? Apparently, there was a back and forth that took place yesterday between Terrell Owens and Stephen A. Smith, right? And it was pretty fiery. And essentially what happened was this. There was a post it was from Jay Slade, the Drama Prince. And this post said, this is why he doesn't give a F. This is why he doesn't F with Max Kellerman. And Terrell Owens goes and likes the post and says, facts, right? And then he went on to say, this all happening yesterday. He says, facts, I already know. Now I hear he wants to expose me, whatever that means. Now, what is he talking about? If you go to Stephen A. Smith's Twitter page, he says, according to responding to Terrell Owens, he says, now, as for this dude, that's an entirely different story. You know how I feel about your sorry you know what, Terrell Owens, and you know why. You should thank your heavenly Father. I haven't zeroed in on you with the trifling bleep you tried to pull. Tell folks at ESPN what your desperate behind tried to pull. Keep on talking. Eventually you'll expose yourself. And then he says, real facts. And then he went on to say in another post, or maybe I'll just dedicate the entire Stephen A. Smith show / podcast on YouTube this Monday to all the things you tried to do behind the scenes to brothers over the years while claiming someone is more of a brother than others. Let me think, I think he meant to say think about that over the next 24 hours. Sick of this bleep. Enough. Then Terrell Owens says, Terrell Owens then responds to him. He says, behind the scenes, again, man, I'm not worried because I stand on my character and who I am. You better come with some facts and not this hearsay and anonymous sources because that's not going to fly. Terrell Owens then says, now Stephen A. asked me if I'm scared. I thank God every day, or at least try to do my best. I'm not worried. You don't have to make some bold attempts to expose me because I have nothing to hide. You're mad because of the advice my attorney after we filed against ESPN because on air without my consent, you shared our text conversation. I'm not sure that constitutes as desperate, but enlighten all of us. So my boy, hone in on me. I'm good. I'm blessed and God got me. You're still salty about that interview I did with you and Max a few years back, and I said what I said, and today I'm still Team Max. Got that man fired. That's messed up. You saw me in Colorado. You should have told me about my sorry behind then. Then Stephen A. Smith, I mean, it's like a soap opera. And then Stephen A. Smith, he goes back and he says, respect, and someone tweeted at Stephen A. Smith, he said, at Stephen A., can't y'all call each other like grown, mature men and clear the air without all of this extra social media back and forth? Get what you need off your chest and move on. Stephen A. Smith then says, respectfully, bro, you don't know the whole story. I have nothing to say about his sorry, pathetic behind, but that doesn't mean you're wrong. You're right, bro. I'm man enough to admit that. I will stand down. And then Terrell Owens responded to that. He said, don't stand down now. I'll be sorry and pathetic, but sure to keep that same energy when you see me next time. You see, I'm not intimidated by you because you have a platform and a loud mouth to claim that you're going to allegedly expose me about something. It seems to me that you're the one being exposed. Please expose me. Let me know what you got. I, along with everybody else, will be waiting. I don't bother nobody. I'm just me. And if you don't like me, that's a personal problem. And then Terrell Owens said, he said a few other things about Stephen A. Smith. And he finally said 15 hours ago, he said, I can't wait to hear what he's going to expose me about. We'll be waiting. Anything you got? He then says, anything to get the people to tune into and increase the ratings on his show. But I'm here for it. Hey, Stevie, when it's all said and done, you open your mouth with the annoying overuse of vocabulary to try to expose me. I'm still Team Max. So you heard the exchange there. You heard the exchange there. Here are my thoughts. It's always Stephen A. Smith that finds himself in this type of situation. It's always him. is always him. Here's the thing that I don't believe Stephen A. Smith understands. Stephen A. Smith is someone that goes at people. And he does it with a straight face. He's not smiling. He's, he calls out people like the time him and Kevin Durant had that dispute. He's like, he went on TV, he's threatening me. I'm not the one you want to do. So Stephen A. Smith be on that type of energy. He be on that energy. But whenever people reciprocate the energy that he gives, all of a sudden it turns into this big tirade. All of a sudden it's an issue and I got to go out there and respond to it. And what just happened here is that he's met someone that's ready to go there with him. If you follow those messages, when Stephen A. Smith said, I'm going to go on my show, and then the other person said, just calm down. He's like, okay, I'll let it go. He's like, nah, don't let it go. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And there are a lot of people out there that have an issue with Stephen A. Smith for various reasons. Various reasons. The fact of the matter is this, dog. Max Kellerman was minding his business. He wasn't doing anything to anybody. Number two, you still are on a mega platform. So I don't see how you're surprised when people call you out for going at Max Kellerman when Max Kellerman is not in a position to defend himself because currently he's unemployed. You're the one that's on ESPN First Take every morning. So for you to still have the megaphone and to be saying negative things, because I don't understand how those things are positive by saying I was basically carrying the show, knowing that you're saying these things about a guy that is currently unemployed, and you're surprised when people are calling you out for it. A lot of people were not feeling the way you were talking to Max on television. And that's not saying that Max Kellerman was perfect. He wasn't. No one is. No one is. But the way you went at him, a lot of people didn't like that, including me, including T.O. And that's the reason he's calling you on it. So for you to feel like this brother and all of that, T.O. is not the only dude. He's not the only one that has issues with you, my G. Have you heard Willie D live talk about Stephen A. Smith? He ain't the only one. He ain't the only one. And Stephen A. Smith got this way of like, bleeping on dudes, but then acting like he's not doing it. He will say something like, yo, I heard someone such and such happened to this person, but I'm not going to go into the details of what happened. Bro, you're already throwing people under the bus when you do that. You're already doing that. And it looks like T.O. has the smoke for Stephen A. Smith, and he's with it. He's coming with it. He's coming with it. I'm surprised that Max Kellerman hasn't gotten a job yet. If I'm me, if I have a company, or if I'm like working at FS1, I would definitely try to get a guy like Max Kellerman on there. Because we can say whatever we want about, oh, he had this take, he had that take. The guy was brilliant. He was brilliant. Max Kellerman could start his own podcast about boxing, and I think he would do extremely well. He has the cachet. He has the name. He was a former employee on ESPN. He can get guys like Zab Judah, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, all of these guys to come on the show and talk boxing and then do other things. So Max Kellerman, man, I think Max Kellerman still has a lot to offer, but to have your former partner out there talking crazy like this about you, to the point where you have former guests on your show calling you out for talking crazy about that dude, you know something is wrong. It's not that everyone else is, like, there's something happening here. When you have multiple people saying something about the same person, when there's smoke, there's fire. So to me, man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I can't wait to see what he's going to say, to be quite honest with you. So these are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show.